Welcome to the very first episode in the series of Author Hour with Richard Lyntton, a show for writers on writing. And if you're not a writer, that's okay too. We're delighted that you are joining us. Today, my guest is Leigh Himes, author of The One That Got Away. Leigh is a local author, a local mother. She's got 2 children. She hails from North Carolina. But you have lived here for how many years, Leigh?
Just about 15.
15. Yeah. So just tell us a little bit of background. I know that your mother is Canadian, or is it your father?
My mother is Canadian.
Mother's Canadian.
My father was from Washington, D.C., but we grew up in North Carolina. But I went to the University of Delaware, so that's what brought me to this area. I've been here ever since.
And you, how long have you been in Philadelphia?
I've been in Havertown for 15 years and 5 years before that in Philadelphia.
Right. Yeah. So tried and trusted, a local author.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. The real thing.
I mean, the accent throws people off, but yes, I'm definitely a Philadelphia-based person now.
Right. So tell us about the book. So the book is called The One That Got Away. I love the book because it's sort of that sliding doors effect of like what happens if you don't get on that metro train, or you do. Gwyneth Paltrow, Sliding Doors, putting my age out there a little bit.
I love that movie too.
I call the book it's such a clever book because it takes you into a completely different world, but you do it in like a totally realistic way. I like realism. So tell us how the idea for The One That Got Away came about.
Well, I have a journalism major, and I was in public relations for 15 years.
Right.
So I've always written, but I've never written fiction,
Right.
Nor did I ever really want to.
Right.
But one day I picked up a magazine and I saw a photograph of a man that I almost dated who was from a very wealthy American family. If I told you the name, you'd know it, but I haven't ever told anyone the name. I can tell you it's not Kennedy. It's not John F. Kennedy Jr.
It's Alex Van Holt, which is very cool. I like that. That's a perfect name for a high society person.
So my husband and I were sitting there in Havertown, and I said, I almost went on a date with this guy. And he said, wow, you sure missed the boat. And we had a good laugh. But after that day, I just started thinking about the choices that we make and the paths that we go on, and how one simple yes or no can take you down wildly different paths. And a couple weeks later, I just started writing and literally couldn't stop.
That actually reminds me of a little bit how I got to America. I was literally supposed to be going on doing a play in Vladivostok in Russia, and it was all set up. And then I literally got this call to come and work in Philadelphia on an acting gig. And so instead of going to Vladivostok, Russia, I came to Philadelphia. I was supposed to be going to New Zealand. And so I love that idea. It's all about these little tiny choices we make. And it can change your life, obviously. So how long, let's talk a little bit about the writing process. Okay. Because I think that's what people enjoy hearing. Even though I've written one book, I always just find it extraordinary how much work that took, and can I do it again, and how do I ever do that? So tell us a little bit about how you literally started those first pages, those first chapters. Did you already have an agent? I know it's published by Hatchet Books. Did you already have an agent, or did you just start writing?
I did not have an agent. I didn't have any grand plans. I just started just as a fun thing to do at night. Wow. But when I look back, there were some things that I did right that I didn't know at the time. I mean, for me, one of the things that I always do before I even outline the whole book is I write the first 2 chapters. Right. And that's just a way, even if I'm going to go back and change those, that's just a way to test out the voice, test out the tone, see if it's an idea I feel comfortable with and I like.
So wait, when you say you write the first 2 chapters, I mean, it sounds like you've had sort of many different ideas. Do you mean you literally just write the first 2 chapters, and if you don't like them, you're going to change to a different story? Or?
Lately, yes.
Okay.
For this, this was my first one, but what I mean is just rather than a lot of writers sit down and they fully outline it first, but I wanted to just have fun with it and see if I like the tone and
Okay.
I.
So you don't even do the outline for the whole book. You just write the first 2 chapters.
And yeah, because I mean that's really kind of the fun and games part of the novel, and you can delve into the characters and introduce the characters. And if they come alive to you, and the tone feels right and you like it, then I would go and outline the other.
See, I don't
chapters.
do that. I literally just do outline it.
Yeah.
And by the way, can you just explain for people when we say an outline? It's just curious to see if your idea of an outline is the same as mine, because I think, again, I remember when I started writing 10 or 15 years ago, I just, all these terms I didn't really understand. For an outline, is it for you like 1 or 2 sentences per chapter? Is it like a 3-page sort of synopsis? What is an outline for you?
Well, so after I did the first couple chapters and said, okay, I like this, I want to map out the rest of the book. For me, I mean, I was just writing it for me. I mean, when you start to sell a lot of books, your agent and your editor is going to want a formal outline.
Right.
But since it was just for me, I did probably, 6 or 7 bullet points per chapter.
Yep.
And then I went back and made sure that I'm tracking all the characters and that the major plot points happen at the right time.
Okay.
But I keep my outlines loose because I've found that the magic comes, and some of my favorite parts of the book are what came along the way.
Okay.
So the outline wasn't super tight. And I don't know if writing professors are going to hate me for saying that, but I kept it pretty loose, just because that's kind of the beauty of novel writing, is to be able to discover those things along the way.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give myself the freedom to do that.
Okay, so how many hours a day, we're talking the first draft now, how many hours a day did you manage to get in writing?
I mean, I was running my own PR shop at the time, and I had a 14-month-old. So time was but that's how you know that you're passionate about your idea and that you want to continue, is that you make time.
Right.
So I would spend, literally, the kids would go to bed at 7 and I would spend from 7 to 9 writing.
Wow.
And
you weren't too tired and exhausted? Like, did you have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine?
Yeah, sometimes a glass of wine for sure.
And not coffee. So you didn't need the pep. You just needed to relax and
have fun. It had to be fun. If it felt like work, I wasn't going to do it. And then as I got more serious and felt like I had something, then I would start to carve out chunks of the day.
So was this after a whole draft when you said you felt it was getting serious?
No, probably after the 2 or 3 first chapters.
Okay, so
I could feel
this.
it. I could kind of feel it and see it. And
you'd never taken any writing courses, studied writing
only
or
just
English?
my journalism degree in college.
Okay.
But as a publicist, I wrote every day.
Okay.
And I have to say that did help me, because as a publicist, you have to write fast. You're always on deadline getting things out. So I knew how to be very focused in terms of, especially when you work for yourself, because you're paid by the hour. So you know how to sit down and get it done, and so that
was it something that you felt like you had to do, or you would like regret it for the rest of your life? Did you always want to write a book? A, first question, and B, was it something that if you hadn't have done it, would you have felt like, oh my goodness, I'm just missing out here?
I mean, really, no. I had novel writing felt like drudgery to me.
Right.
I would never have thought I would want to do it, but I just fell in love with my characters from day one, and I wanted to see how it went. It just wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something that I thought I could do. Right. And
I think that's a crucial point. I think for anyone who's interested in writing out there and who wants to do it, I think we all go through. It's something you think, I'm never going to do this. And what advice would you have for people starting out who really, really want to do it but have that doubt? What advice would you give them?
I mean, to me, it's I can only speak for myself, but for me, it's all about the idea.
Okay.
The idea has to be something that excites you and that you are willing to spend 2 years with.
Yes.
My other advice is, have a day job.
Right.
Whether you're, a mom or teacher or a doctor. Or, I mean, I truly believe that you have to have a break from it and come back to it. I mean, yeah, we'd all like to make a living. Right. We'd all like to be John Grisham and have the luxury to spend all day. Right. But I almost think that having a day job, it gives your mind a break, but it also, you're out in the world, you're disciplined, I don't know, you.
So let me just ask you. So you talked about the money there for a second. I think that for me again was a big sort of misnomer at the beginning. I mean, I think for me you have to realize that this is an art, this is a passion. You cannot start writing because you want to make money. You are a published writer. Your book is published by Hachette Books, so that's like big time. So tell me about like the financial consideration. I mean, you know, as you finished your first draft, will you start thinking about money or not even?
I mean, this was something that I was doing for fun, and in the back of my mind, I said, I'll try for a publisher, but if I don't get one, I'll self-publish. Right. And that's the great part of being an author right now, that you have lots of options. Right. And publishing, getting in with the 5 big publishers is so hard right now, especially because of COVID, and they're so risk averse that it's so great that you have the back. That you can self-publish and be successful. And
what do you think? Because this is one of my questions I was going to ask you. Like, what is, because you're like, you know, the traditionally published author. What is your attitude towards someone like me who's self-published, an indie author?
I mean, I think it's great. I think there's more than one way to do this, and I think because of the web, you can reach just as many readers. As I do. Right. I would encourage anyone to do that if they've queried publishing houses and they haven't gotten through, to go ahead and put it online. Because I mean, it does take an awful lot of luck as well. You have to have a good product. It's got to be buttoned up. You have to have the idea, the execution, the voice. You know, get all that together. But you know, it's not like if the agents and the publishers say no, it's not like that has to go in a drawer. Right. Well,
that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, I literally had 2 books sitting on my laptop for 8 to 10 years, and because of COVID, you know, I suddenly got them out, and that's why I decided to publish. And my book was published in December, and it was a fascinating experience, 6 months long. You know, marketing, editing, proofreading, book design, like you go through all that stuff. And so, you know, but only really for me because of COVID, because I thought I can't just leave these books on my laptop. What do you think? What is your sense of what is happening to like the publishing industry over the last year because of COVID, and what will happen in the next 1 or 2 years?
I mean, like I said, I just think they're very risk averse, and so they're publishing a lot of books that have built-in marketing power and names. So whether that's their franchise authors that they already have, or whether it's a celebrity author, I mean, there's always that they need to have guaranteed results. Wow. That said, there are new authors that get discovered every year, and there are hundreds of books that are purchased every year. And a lot of that is them buying you know, obviously what they like and what they're passionate about, but they're sort of in a way throwing stuff against the wall and see what sticks. Like they don't really know either. So let's say a publishing house in, you know, like one division of a publishing house purchases 200 manuscripts a year. You know, not everything's going to pop. But you hope it's yours.
Well, let me ask you. I enjoy the whole sort of producing and marketing side of the book too. How does it feel as a traditionally published author when you know, I heard that you have to sort of ask your publicist, you know, if you want to do like a book interview or if you know, some writers think, you know, if I want to do a social media post. What was it like for you to sort of hand all the marketing over to your publisher, or isn't that the case?
I mean, I felt like we really had a great relationship, that we worked together.
Right.
They were there to answer any questions and to advise me in the beginning. And then, but we, for every, let's say, bookstore visit that I did or author event, I came up with some on my own as well. And we just ran them by each other, and it worked.
So did you sort of have to ask permission to do that?
I really didn't.
No, okay.
I mean, they let me pretty much do whatever I wanted.
Right. Because I think for people who are thinking of writing or have just finished a novel or a manuscript, I think the good news is it's like a win-win. You can, in fact, you gave me this advice even. You said, well, try traditional agents, and if you don't get it, that you should continue with the self-publishing way. But I think what's wonderful these days is that if you've got the time, the energy, and the passion, and you believe in your story, and I think that is key, what you said about believing in your own story, then I think the sky is the limit, and you literally can publish your own book on your own. But by all means, try the traditional route too, and then if it happens, it happens.
Right. Yeah. Both avenues, you can see extreme success in both avenues, for sure.
So what about going back to writing process? What about your family life? Like, what do people in your family feel about you writing? Do they like it? My teenage boys, like they couldn't give two hoots about the fact that I'm writing. What is it like in the family? What do your children say? What does your husband say?
I mean, they're just tickled. I mean, they think they love it. I mean, my kids are too young; they can't read my book.
How old are you?
Well, they're 14 and 10 now, but especially at the time they couldn't read it. But they were incredibly supportive.
Right.
My husband is a writer and a TV producer, so he knows the world. He hasn't published a book in 20 years, but he knows the world and was incredibly proud and supportive. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's been an amazing experience.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I have to say, just back to the marketing of the book, I was able to go out on some book tours. I was able to do an event with Ellen Hildebrand. I worked with Nicholas Sparks on a blog post. And so it was incredibly exciting. But the best part, and this sounds cliche, but the best part is when you meet a reader and they're very passionate about your book. And that's what I would say about the self-publishing route too, is you're going to meet readers that are passionate about your book, and they're going to post about it. That's the true value. Yeah. I mean, we all want to be published by Random House or Knopf, but
again, I really encourage you to read this. This is such a fun book. Anyone moving to Philadelphia for a start should read this, because you learn all about Philadelphia, from the suburbs, the middle classes to the upper echelons. Do read this wonderful book, The One That Got Away, and also it's what I love about it is it's that idea of what if I ended up in this life instead of this life. And I think you've really, really done a great job.
Thank you.
What else was I going to ask you? Do you like to read? To what extent do you like to read other authors, either in your own genre or in different genres?
I mean, I'm a huge reader.
Do you listen to audiobooks, or do you have time to sit down and read?
I sit down. I probably read 2 hours a night when I go to bed.
You do? Wow.
And I read in my genre.
2 hours?
Yeah.
Literally, you're in bed and you're reading.
Yeah.
And you don't fall asleep within like 30 minutes?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes.
So what time do you go to bed? What time do you go to bed?
9.
So 9. Yeah. Okay. So you don't watch too much TV?
No.
Wow.
No. So, I mean, I have, like right now, I'm working on a new novel, I have a bunch of work reading I have to do. And sometimes
when you say work reading, you mean research for the next book?
Research.
Do you want to tell us where you think it might be about, or you don't want to go there?
I probably don't want to go there, because
that's fine.
The second book, and we can talk about second books in a bit, is a little bit of a struggle. So it's still kind of.
Okay, so let's talk about why is it? So you've got your agent, you've got your publisher. They want you to write a second book. Why is the second book a struggle?
I mean, the first book, you're just doing it with no expectations. Right. It's a first book is like, I don't know how you feel, but to me it was like a dream process. It's so much fun. Fun. There's no pressure, because who cares? You're just you don't know if it's going to go anywhere. Yeah. And then the second book, you just second guess yourself. You overthink it a little bit, and go down a few rabbit holes you don't need to go on. Right. So Yeah.
How long?
And traditionally, all authors have said the second book is hard.
Yeah.
It's really
How long did it take you to write the first book?
It's really hard to say because I was doing it in fits and spurts, but I would say probably a year. I mean, it was fast, a year and a half.
A year and a half. So
that
you
also
consider
tells
that
you-
fast, and I read about authors who churn 3 or 4 books out a year, which totally amazes me.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I think
I don't understand that either.
I mean, seriously, Daniel Silver, I know, who is probably one of my favorite authors, because I write thrillers, has done 1 book a year for 20 years. So he's now got like 20 books out or so.
Well,
Mark Dawson, another thriller writer, does like 3 a year or something crazy, and he's publishing 4 this year, backlisted in Germany. But he's already written those. But even so, I just find it extraordinary because I spend a lot of time writing. I would say 3-4 hours a day, maybe 3 hours a day on average, if I'm not doing anything else. So now that you're working on the new book, how many hours do you spend on the book?
Well, COVID has kind of thrown me for a loop, but
Okay.
usually I would spend all day.
Right, really,
6
So
to 8 hours. Yeah.
Really, so because I find that after 3 or 4 hours in front of the screen, it just gets really sort of pointless me continuing. So
Well,
you can
I mean,
is that all writing?
I
6
try,
to 8 hours?
I mean, I'm a big just get it all down and then go back and revise it.
Right.
Where I know a lot of other writers are very careful. I think it's Stephen King who writes 500 words a day.
Do you like goal setting like that? I find that I don't like that pressure.
It makes me feel good when I hit that mark.
Okay.
But it's either 500 or 1,000 words a day. I think it's 500. Well, 500 words is not much,
Right.
but he's writing it perfect.
Right.
So he's not going back and having to revise, I would assume.
Right.
And same with like the Ella Hill, DeBrands, and the De Silvas of the world. I mean, what they have is 20 years experience.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
they, that's really helping them.
Why do people write? Why do people write fiction, do you think?
I think because it's fun, for one, but I think also just because we want to share our experience with the world. We want to,
And I ask that because I sometimes think, well, why am I doing this? Like, it's so much work.
It's so
I could
work,
just get a day job, And I once read, when I began acting like 20 years ago, I read a book by Michael Caine, and the very first chapter it says, here's the thing, if there's anything else you can possibly do with your life, you should probably do it. And I think, that's sort of the same with any artistic pursuit, I guess. But so yes, it's fun. Anything else that because I always think, why do we do this?
For me, I've just always been a book person, a writing person, a word person, and so why not take, after 15 years of writing for somebody else, writing dry stuff about insecticides and metal roofs and stuff, to be able to create a world and then share that world is really fun and remarkable.
Were you afraid that you wouldn't find your audience? Or should I say, who is your audience, just out of curiosity? Do you know who your audience is? And were you afraid you wouldn't be able to find them?
I felt pretty confident about that because I was writing for myself and my friends. I was using my friends as inspiration and kind of writing it for them. It was also the book I kind of feel like is a love letter to Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
And to Delaware County.
Right.
And so I felt like it would find an audience because, I know my friends and I know myself, and I felt like, that said, we could talk a little bit about like following the market,
Yes.
Like right now, all the mystery thriller, murder books are so popular right now, and you can chase that market. I went and wrote a throwback book.
Right.
Sliding Doors, The Family Man, they're 20 years old.
Right.
But so
did you think about Sliding Doors when you were writing it? When you saw that picture of the guy in the magazine, did you also think Sliding Doors?
I can't remember if I did.
That's
but now I always use that in The
Okay.
Family Man. I always say it's like a reverse The Family Man to describe it. It was really just, it came down to that, it's a yes or a no. It's such little words that can send you in different directions.
Right. Final thought for people out there who want to be a published author. Final sort of things you'd wish you'd known or piece of advice?
I mean, I say do the work of getting folks to read your manuscript and give you comments. If multiple people are saying the same thing, listen to them.
Great advice.
When you send your queries up to agents, don't try to oversell them on why your book is going to be the most amazing book that's ever been written. You know, be friendly, be short, you know, tell them why, tell them about the book and who you are, but you know, they're just people too. Don't be afraid of agents. They're just people.
Right.
And just, you know, be friendly and send it out there and see what happens.
How long do you think, because I feel like some people start writing and they start, you know, they got like a first draft and then they start querying agents. What is your sense of writers you know and yourself of, I mean, you know, give people a sense of the time involved. Like, for me, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
So like, what is your sense of how long you should wait before you've written a manuscript and then you send it and then you try to send it to an agent?
I mean, absolutely, the manuscript has to be completely done before you send it in, whether you're sending in a few chapters or sending in the whole thing. I would say, you know, if you're writing anything less than a year and you're a first-time author, I can't imagine. I mean, maybe you're a genius, I hope so. But, you know,
exactly.
It's probably, I would say, between 1 and 2 years you're looking at. But when you're done, put it away for 6 weeks and just don't think about it, and then bring it out, revise it again, and then you're ready. Right. And if you don't get any bites, self-publish it and write another book. Keep writing. Don't keep picking apart the same book.
Great. Wonderful. So thank you so much. Here's Leigh's book again, The One That Got Away. It's a fantastic read. Thank you so much for joining us, Leigh. You can go to leighhimes.com for more information. And I am your host, Richard Lyntton, author of North Korea Deception. We would love it if you want to reach out. If you know any local writers, you have any ideas, reach out to me on my website at richardlyntonbooks.com, and make sure you put Mainline TV in the subject line. Cheerio. Thanks for joining us.